What's up? I'm him, and I'm on my balcony today. I want to talk a little bit about Apple's new Mac Studio announcement. They recently announced the new M4 Max and M3 Ultra chipsets. I'm a little bit confused with the strategy of the chip releases at this point. I thought we were over the M3 generation, but it seems like that's not the case. But I went ahead and bought it, or pre-ordered it. Should be here on March 17th. And I purchased the 256 gigabyte unified memory model along with the on-bin chipped and GPU option with a 2 terabytes worth of storage. However, given what I would like to use this computer for, I don't know if I got the right spec. Something in me tells me I should have just went all in and purchased the half a terabyte model, as well as got 4 terabytes of storage instead of 2. The reason behind that is that my current M1 Ultra has 2 terabytes and I only have about 350 gigabytes of free storage. Now you may be saying, oh, that seems perfectly fine. Well, I have that much because I recently ran out of space and I had to delete a bunch of stuff and move a bunch of stuff off to other places. And this isn't the first time. It's happened 4 times over the year. And, every time I get a new machine, I like to double the amount of storage that I have if I am over a certain threshold. So let's say that, I have this 2 terabytes now, and let's say I had 700 or 800 gigabytes of free space left after this 3-year period. Well, in that case, it makes no sense to me to upgrade to 4 terabytes of storage. However, given that I have repeatedly bumped up against storage constraints, it makes a lot of sense for me to at least double at a minimum. Now, to get 8 terabytes or 16 terabytes, in my opinion, is prohibitively expensive. That being said, when you account for inflation, I guess it's not that bad, but I don't know if I want to pay that much, especially if I get the half a terabyte of RAM option. So I haven't decided if I'm going to keep my current order or if I will cancel it and redo another order with the specs that I want and just pay it's a lot of money, $10,600, just pay that. Or if I'm going to take delivery of the 256 gigabyte model and just see if it's something that I can live with. Because I am paying a lot less than I otherwise would. My spec only cost $75.99, and that's because I cheaped out at the last minute. I had the half a terabyte selected, and that $4,000. I'm just like, oh my gosh, $4,000 is so much money. That is so much money. And given the resale value of these Macs, these M1 Macs, I'm just like, I don't know if it's worth it. I was looking at the trade-in value of my Mac Studio. It's like $1,500. And it's not a low-end spec. It's an M1 Ultra. It's got all of the CPUs, but it does have the bin GPU. So I only have 48 GPU cores, I would believe. Yeah, I think I have 48 GPU cores. And I have 64 gigabytes of RAM, which is the middle tier. That's generally what I like to do. I like to do for all of my laptops and Mac hardware over the past decade or so is I never get the all the way top of the line, and I never get the base configuration. I always go right down the middle. But this current Mac Studio release is my first time where I'm like, you know what? It makes sense to potentially just go all the way up because unlike in the past, you can't easily upgrade these. In fact, you can't upgrade them at all. What you buy is what you get. So if you are not satisfied with the spec, or if you're like me and you know yourself, you're going to grow with the machine that you get. And then over time, you're going to do more things because your skill sets, your capabilities grows. Maybe you have other interests and you want to try new things. Having a machine that doesn't impose limitations on you, in my opinion, is a great thing, and it's something that's necessary for me to have maximal creativity. And I do understand that having constraints is really important when it comes to creativity. But I don't hold that same position when it comes to computing. I believe that it's the exact opposite when it comes to computing, where if you have a lot of interests, like me, I like music, photography, video. I'm a software engineer. I don't know if that's obvious. Maybe not. Um, I do a little AI stuff from my undergrad and from graduate school that I did. And I am now interested in building applications that leverage LLMs and other types of models. And, given that my development is a mix of web, desktop, mobile, it makes a lot of sense that I have a machine that has no limitations, right? Like, I understand that sometimes having a limitation when it comes to programming is great because you'll find creative solutions to your problems. You can optimize things for hardware that most people have, right? Like, I understand that not everybody has an M1 Max with 64 gigabytes of RAM. And that makes every workload seem light. I understand that. However, that being said, I like to edit video. I like to edit my photos. I like to do a whole host of things like running virtual software because not everything is written for Mac OS. I know that. I run Linux and Windows often at the same time on one computer. Being able to run multiple instances of Windows or Linux at the same time is, in my opinion, is kind of liberating, right? Like, there's no workload that someone can throw at me and I'm like, yeah, I don't have the ability to work with that. So yeah, I've been thinking. Now, I do understand that my current spec isn't really going to limit me at all right now, right? Like, I currently only have 64 gigabytes of RAM on both my M1 machines, M1 Max and M1 Ultra. 256 is a big bump. I think that's 4x. Yeah, I want to say it's like a 4x difference in RAM. So I am getting a lot more. That being said, maybe I don't want to have to do this again in 3 years. When I first bought my Mac Studio, I was thinking to myself that I was going to have it for about 5 years before I needed to upgrade. However, due to new advancements and I guess just software, I don't know, the quality of software seems to just be going downhill. Due to all these factors, it no longer performs. It no longer has that magic that it had when I first got it. A good example, and some of you may have experienced this, is if you're using software like Zoom or Ecamm, which is what I use for sharing my screen for my streaming, or if you use Microsoft Teams and you often share your screen, if you've ever experienced issues with like lag or latency and all that kind of stuff when you're trying to interact with your machine, then you know what I'm talking about. This is something that's been happening a lot lately, ever since, I don't know, like the newest version of Mac OS came out and I regrettably upgraded. And now I'm wondering, can I solve this by just purchasing the latest computer? And, given how Apple works, I'm pretty sure that's the case. So I'm looking forward to seeing if this new machine is going to get rid of those issues, right? If it doesn't, maybe I just stick with my M1 Ultra for another year or two because, my experience won't change that much. Now, I will lose out on the ability to develop these new applications that I'm now thinking about doing that leverage LLMs locally, but I won't really be blocked, You can always use the pay-to-play versions, on the internet, so long as I'm cool with sharing what I'm doing with some third-party company, which I don't know if I am at this point in my life. I look at all AI as surveillance software. It's basically spyware. So being able to pay to get out of that would be nice. Who knows? Maybe I've just talked myself into keeping this new Mac Studio and going ahead and upgrading to the 512 gigabyte model just so that I can free myself from the decisions or the whims of companies like OpenAI or Cloud or whoever they are. I forget who owns Claude. I actually don't know who owns them, but whoever owns them, or Perplexity, if I can say it right. You know, all these tools and services, they're great, but it would be nice to not have to send any of my data there. You know, if I have all of my data on my NAS, for instance, maybe I can train up some things to like go in and like archive all of my footage or tag my footage or go in and create transcripts of all of my footage. I have a lot of hours. It's probably thousands of hours at this point of footage from my live streams, as well as from content that I've recorded, you know, with other folks that I have never put on YouTube and I don't plan to put on YouTube, mainly because I have music playing in the background that I can't put on YouTube. Anyway, before this begins to turn into a rambling video, I'm going to go ahead and call it here. I would like to know, are any of you going to purchase the new Mac Studio? And if so, which one? The M4 Max or the M3 Ultra? And if you do get the M3 Ultra, I'm also curious, are you getting the M3 Ultra because you want to spec it to the max amount of RAM or for some other thing? Anyways, peace.